Sports. There's your intro right there.
That was good. One of the things that, was a hard line in the sand was like, hey, I'm going to be dad cap during these games and practices. I am not Coach Rob. If there's any coaching questions, you ask the coach. Now, if you have questions on stuff at home, like should I sleep more and eat, I can help you out with that. Or if you want to do some drills. But when we're at the gym, when we're at competition, I'm going to be your loudest cheering audience member because that is what I'm qualified to do.
Today is the day. It's going to be not the longest episode, but not the shortest because there's plenty of stuff to talk about. Today, we're going to be talking about youth sports and if we're doing them, what was our experience in the past? What's happening now? And when should I get my kid involved? What are our kids involved in? And maybe we'll have a special guest or some continued dialogue about this in maybe a part 2 or a part 3.
Yeah,
who knows?
Definitely a guest in part 2. Some behind the scenes information that would be great. But yeah.
So
Gotcha.
the first thing to warm us up, because literally Rob just got home and like jumped into his chair.
Just closed the garage door. Yeah.
So while he takes a breath, the thought I had for our intro today is titled Things That Never Change. I want to have everybody just, as long as you're not driving, you close your eyes. Okay. I want you to think, what is something, maybe it's nostalgic, maybe it's just something you're appreciating right now. What is something that just like has always been the same? It's always there. It's always exactly as you remember it, or it's consistent. So what is it that never changes? So as that's going through your brain, the first one that came to me the other day was playing with the kids. We're at the table. One of them leans over. Hey, Dad, could you open this for me? And I look over. It's a little tub of Play-Doh, nice little yellow cup. Pull that lid off and just,
That's the smell.
Yeah. Play-Doh, the smell hasn't changed since I was born. Play-Doh has smelled the exact same. And if you just want to like shot of nostalgia, like straight to the vein, straight to your head, you just go sniff some Play-Doh. Who hasn't? Who hasn't played with Play-Doh?
No, exactly. Not only that, like crayons. The other day we were drawing with crayons, and they look the same, they feel the same, they smell the same. You didn't hear it from me, but they might taste the same. So it's that's another kind of throwback. But for me, what hasn't changed, and the participants have changed, but the energy hasn't. It's after a good hangout session with friends. So even from the cul-de-sac kids playing, flag football to as an adult going out to like dinner with friends, the conversations might change, highs and lows, but afterwards, there's never been a point where it's like, oh, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. It's always been the opposite. Like, man, we need to do this more often. And so that has not changed, right? So participants might change, but that energy afterwards is like, man, why don't we do this more often? Right. So
yes. Oh, that is a good one. That feeling of like, oh, that was great.
Exactly. I want more of that feeling. And that feeling hasn't changed, right? It's still a good time. It still fills my cup, right? As far as hanging out with friends and family.
Yeah.
So that's something that we still seek out, right? Is to fill that cup.
That's a great one. Of course, Rob, coming in with the
just different. It's just
goodness.
Different.
The sweet goodness. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Speaking of being like filling up your cup, the other one that I had that came to my mind was, the more broad term would be like nature, like doesn't change, like every time you go up into like the redwoods or the pines here, like the smell, smell. But like as far as visual goes, like the moon, no matter where you are in the world, that moon pops out and you're like, it's the same thing. It's the same moon. Still there. Still there, controlling the tides and going around the earth. So it's great. I just like looking out at the sky. I told my friends that the other day. I was like, what's great? I love clouds. I love clouds so much. We've talked about this in the podcast.
Yes, we have
already. So
yeah,
I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but yeah, they were like, well, those do change. So I was like, yeah, no, you're right. But they're all,
but they don't.
The sky,
yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
So don't give me a hard time. I'm just trying to appreciate things.
No, I'm with you with that. I think the fact that for me, like looking up the clouds reminds me how small we are, right? And that shouldn't change.
Yeah.
But for us, another thing is from early on to right now, I still enjoy driving. I remember getting the driver's license when I was young and being able to go out into the open road and roll down the windows and play the music and just feel the wind in your hair. And it's just that kind of solo-esque type of trip. And even though I'm a unpaid dad Uber, it's still fun for me. I still enjoy driving, right? I'm not so good as a passenger, but I'm really good as a driver.
When you're not in traffic, that is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We had an episode about that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So you can rewind. And
exactly. You
I
know
go
what?
over
We'll
those.
just tag those episodes in this episode, so you guys can go back and watch those. But
There
yeah,
you go. There you
yeah, that
go.
hasn't changed.
So, because my kids' nap times and quiet times are all kind of like going to be coming to an end, we'll dive
Let's
right
go.
into the conversation today. But it's easy to segue into it because
Mhm.
Rob, you're in the thick of it right now. There's
Mhm.
some great stuff going on. You
Yes.
were busy. We talked about it last week, but we're diving in now. Super Bowl is over, and you didn't miss a whole lot, but you missed it because you couldn't be there because
Volleyball.
what were you
We
up
had
to?
sports, youth
Volleyball.
sports. Yes, youth sports.
And
Um,
so, yeah, thought first off, like, how's the experience going? What are you up to in that world right
you
now?
know what? It's crazy. I think we were underprepared for how crazy it is, both on the responsibility, like driving multiple times a week, a month to practices, to all 2 day weekend tournaments and stuff like that. It's crazy in Southern California as far as sports, be it whatever sport, basketball, baseball. We happen to do volleyball.
When you signed up for this is
Hmm.
me, Mr. Curious here, because this is where we're gonna be getting eventually. But
Yeah.
what was that process look like? What did that look like as you
So,
were like asking the questions? You said you're a little underprepared. What was that
yeah.
preparation like?
So first and foremost, in sports, right, club sports, at least where we're at in my own experience here, there's different divisions, different like experience levels, as far as, do you want it more kind of a rec league, hanging out with friends, or do you want it more competitive, preparing you for something more, such as high school, college sports? And a lot of times there's a tryout for this. And so with our daughter, there was um, a pseudo tryout. So we didn't know about the tryouts until a classmate of hers mentioned it, but it happened to already had passed. But they were doing like these open gym sessions for free to kind of get the local community to play more. And I also think it's a way for the coaches to kind of scout future athletes. And so, at a couple coaches' requests, they asked for her to kind of hang out afterwards. And then the conversation started with, hey, she's got some good raw talent. Tryouts have ended, but we got a spot for her if she's interested. And of course, any parent wants to hear that. But the other sales part of me is like, they need to fill the roster. So they're looking for anyone who's willing to pay to play, right? Because club sports in Southern California is, you have to pay.
Yeah.
So after getting over that hurdle of paying, because it is a not cheap, then it was, what's the responsibilities of the parents and kids? And yeah, it started with practice being 2 days a week and maybe one tournament one time a month. And we scoped that out. That's definitely doable. But the season's like 6 months. It goes till summer. And we started in October or November. So it's a very
Woo.
long season. And that's a conversation we had with our child, with my partner, like, hey, as a family, we need to be supportive. Are we cool with this? And it was a resounding yes. I played sports. My wife played sports. So we only had that memory of the athlete playing the sports, but we don't recollect the pounds of cut oranges and the hour drives to the field and the hour back and the food prepping. We don't remember any of that as a kid. So now it's like full circle. But because the team has gotten better, now the owners are like, let's put a third practice day in there a week. And you know what? Let's do a couple tournaments. And although that's exciting, to give you an example, we got up at 6. We left the house at 6 for the doubleheader, and
Yeah.
we weren't home until 4:30 p.m. Like that was one day, and that's multiple days of that. And as
Ugh.
a youth athlete, like, you could have as much passion as you want. But
Yeah.
recovery, rest, playtime with your friends, like that should be just as important. But so it's balance, right? So during the week, we kind of keep it mellow so that we can prepare for these longer weekends. So yeah, it's what we weren't quite prepared for, but we are malleable to do is the extra practices and the extra tournaments. As long as I'm checking in with my daughter, with Chloe, if she's like, "Hey, are you good?" and she's good, then we're good. But you still learn the signs of, "Hey, maybe you're tired. Maybe we should get some sleep this weekend. Maybe we won't go to practice today because we have a tournament this weekend and you need to rest." So being able to be flexible as the home team, like our family, has really helped support that aspect of the sports. But it's a ball. I love being there cheering for her. It's something I didn't get quite often as a youth athlete, so I definitely wanted to when we had kids, was to be in the stands, be the loudest cheerer. Now, there's pros and cons. I know you're going to say something as far as your perspective, and I want you to say that. But then I want to kind of talk about recently, like I've had these conversations at home about pros and cons of not only club sports, but more like competitive club sports at such a young
Yes.
age. Yeah, we
Yes.
could definitely talk about that. So,
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, like just to let people in on, yeah, where I'm coming from is like, I, I hear that and I'm like, "Ugh," like I shudder because I'm like,
yeah.
but also, obviously my kids are 6, 4, and 2. I'm
Hmm.
fresh, like right on the cusp. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just an
Hmm.
ignorant father of small children who I don't have any experience yet, which I will get there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, I live in an area where just like you, um, it's full of like competitive youth sports.
Hmm.
And I got the my buddy who lives across the street who's like, "Hey, gotta get Hudson in there pretty soon. Otherwise he's like, he's gonna be too late." And I'm
He'll
like,
be blind, right? Like,
Jeez.
yeah,
I'm like, "He's 6." In my head,
exactly.
I'm like, "These kids are supposed to be having fun."
Exactly.
And so I do appreciate, like you mentioned, I know that they're out there, right? You have these rec
Hmm.
leagues and then you have
Hmm.
comp leagues.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm appreciative that those are there, but I'm also, what I want to do is to continue having this conversation. And I thought, what better place than the podcast to
Yeah.
talk about it is really, like, get the full picture of, like, what youth sports is doing, like, and how it's helping, like, the kids, but then also, like,
Hmm.
I really wanna question, like, okay, why are we doing what we're doing? And what are we
Yeah.
finding like, what are the benefits and what's the non-benefit?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if I can kinda create, like, my own, like, our family philosophy of
Yeah,
what
for
that's gonna
sure.
look like in the future, um, if that's a
Yeah.
thing, you know? Like,
No,
so
it is. It
I
is.
guess I'm just like, "Oh, we're gonna dip our toes in the water soon." We're having this conversation more and more.
Mhm.
Let's Rob and I and maybe some others talk about this.
Yeah, and to kinda jump on that, like, as far as the rec versus competitive, I think now this is just my observation,
Yeah, of
and
course.
I'm not calling anybody out, but a lot of times I see a lot of children, not maybe necessarily in volleyball, but other sports as well, are not really pushed, but are politely encouraged to play at a level they may not emotionally or mentally be ready to play at. So I think with our daughter and our friends, it's like, if you want to play at this level, we're going to support you. Just know that it's not going to be like PE in elementary, right? It's not like everyone's just having a good time. Like, you're going to have coaches, they want you to get better. And this is what motivation might look like. This is what encouragement and coaching might look like. And it won't look like what it was in elementary school. And then for those students and those kids who are like, you know what, I just love basketball. I don't want to make the high school varsity team. That's when if my child said that, like, hey, let's look for a club team that meets once a week and it's just a game, like it's a pickup game. So I think understanding your child's personality can better fit versus having the right child in the wrong team. That doesn't benefit the team and it doesn't benefit the child. So these are the
Yes.
conversations we had over time. And I think having a good connection with your kid prior to that and not putting like your lost opportunities onto your kids. Like, man, I could have made it to this league or that league. And so I'm going to overly parent, overly coach my kid, even though I'm paying coaches to coach my child. Right. So one of the things that was a hard line in the sand was like, hey, I'm going to be uh, dad cap during these games and practices. I am not Coach Rob.
Yeah.
If there's any coaching questions, you ask the coach, right? You go talk to the coach. Now, if you have questions on stuff at home, like should I sleep more and eat, I can help you out with that. Or if you want to do some drills. But when we're at the gym, when we're at competition, I'm going to be your loudest cheering audience member because that is what I'm qualified to do, right? I'm qualified to do that at these tournaments and at these games and at these practices. And so having that line in the sand, I think helps the kid too, because one of the things that I've noticed over the years, and maybe Travis, you've seen this too, be it when you played or not, is a lot of times you'll see kids kind of look back towards their parents on when they score or when they don't score, right? So when they're successful and when they're not successful, it's this constant look of acknowledgement because they're tying their worth into that relationship, that acknowledgement. And so I know for me, a lot of times I might have played sports too long through injury, not because I love the sport so much, but because I was trying to earn the respect and love of my parents through that. And so we're very diligent about making sure that that's not part of the conversation with our kids in playing sports. If you want to play, we'll play. I'll take you guys out to pizza afterwards. But whether or not you get to that next level is on you. I'll drive you anywhere. I will pay for the coaches and get the extra practices in. But the pressure will not be coming top down as far as the family, right? Like if you have a really good coach that thinks you have potential and they want to keep pushing you, we'll support that. But for me, one of the greatest kind of aha moments that I'm really happy about is like Chloe could do a full game and never look at us in the bleachers at all. And we're cheering and she's playing hard and having a great time. But she'll look back as in like excitement, but not as in that acknowledgement look. And I think a lot of adults that used to play youth sports now can realize that, like, oh, why does my kid keep looking back? Is there something I'm saying or doing that's causing them to need to look back to me, even though they should be enjoying a team sport, right? They should be having fun with their friends. And that's something that is a benefit of the youth sports is the friendships. And Chloe's met amazing girls on her team. She hangs out with them on the court, off the court. So again, there's pros and cons. I think there's a lot of pros for the child, developmental as far as discipline, all that kind of good stuff. But the cons, I think, come top down as far as the parent's responsibility. There's not a lot of cons for the kid playing because
Yeah.
if you look at the cons, it's usually because of the parent. So, for example, the placement. Well, I put my
Yeah.
kid in competitive sports, even though they're not very competitive. That's not the child's decision, right? That was your decision.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's both sides of the coin. But yeah,
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I think there's benefits and cost of it. But I think if you have an open conversation, and you know your kid, I think youth sports are great. I played youth sports growing up. I know Travis played sports as well. And it may not just be sports too. It could be Cub Scouts. It could be a bunch of things, right? Whether or not your child's ready for it is the first question. And then where amongst that kind of line or scale do you want to place them in?
I really, really appreciate that perspective. The Well, and the way that you bring this to the table time and time again, and I very much appreciate it. I think I find myself getting sucked into like oh, this is how it's gonna be, or like, oh, somebody's gonna, all like, I can just I picture that parent that I don't. How do I do this without?
I know. I already know what you're saying. I've been there. I already
Okay,
know what
okay,
you're
okay.
saying.
Yeah,
So I'll say it right now, and we'll circle back about it. But I remember at the one of the last tournaments and stuff like that, and the girls played amazing. They just lost. And at this level, it could be errors, could be a thousand and one things. And so a lot of the dads were just like, oh, it was because of reffing, or it could have been that. And for me, I was like, a loss teaches them something too. Like I don't want my kids to go through youth sports not losing, right? Like I want them to
yeah,
lose. I want them to learn resilience and to come back and want to be better. And so that was kind of an aspect of group sports that I think is another benefit, right? Is the fact that you learn to lose, but you learn that there's things to make better from that, or ways to make yourself better from that, not just to kind of sulk in the loss. Yeah, it feels bad, but pizza fixes that real quick. But then to come back and still enjoy playing, right? So I think if we put too much energy, especially as parents, on winning, then what happens is there is no coming back from a loss, right? Because all the energy is on winning. And again, that ties into looking towards the bleachers for your parents while you're playing, because am I doing enough to win?
yep.
But yeah.
Yep,
But yeah.
and so, what I was thinking without, like, ostracizing or alienating anybody, but, like, because I don't think we wanna be this, right? But, like,
No.
I think of that dad that is,
Oh, yeah, you were
that
about to
is
say the PC version of this, yes.
I just, the dad that's, like, yelling and screaming on the sideline, or the parent in general,
Mhm,
um, that's, like, coaching their kid
mhm,
from the bleachers, right?
mhm,
And so I appreciate the that question. I think we could all take in. Number
mhm,
1 is, like, what am I qualified to do here?
mhm.
And maybe you're qualified, but, like, what is my role in this,
Exactly. What
right?
was the agreement, right? The
Yeah.
agreement was, "I'll be the dad, you be the coach." Like, that was the agreement. So,
Yeah. So I appreciate your perspective. I think
mhm,
of that and I'm like, well, what if we run into this? Or what if we run into this? And we do this in life a lot, right? It's easy for
mhm.
me to do the what if game. And that creates all sorts of anxiety and other things, right? Everybody's like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. And you talk yourself out of a lot of really great stuff. And so
Yes, you do.
you mentioned you're able to step back
Mhm,
and go like, here are the great things that my kids can get out of this
yes.
experience. And here
Yep.
are the things that we're signing up for and we're committing
Mhm,
to. And, like this is our role. And so it's almost like you're indirectly leading others just by having that perspective walking into to every game, to every
yes.
practice,
Mhm.
and then
Oh, I thought it was a juice box. That was good. There you go. You got
there you go.
Oh, he
Hey,
didn't
can
take the dad tax. I thought you were gonna take the dad tax.
yeah, I know. I already loaded up on a bag of those, so I guess I didn't need to take the dad tax.
Gotcha.
The dad taxes coffer has been filled.
There you
Uh,
go.
okay, don't drive your car over here. Okay, stay over there.
But,
Okay.
I got you. Take a moment. But
So,
I
yeah, and then that rubs off on your kids, and
Yeah.
they're knowing, like you said, they're able to just like that opportunity all of a sudden is there for them to just have fun,
And
you know?
it significantly lowers the pressure, right? So imagine your child's in sports, even competitive sports. And if they come from a family that has a strong foundation in play and encouragement and knowing that losses are part of sports, like no one goes undefeated for their entire life, then what happens is they get even more enjoyment in playing competitive sports because there's no negative aspect of it, right? There's no loss. And I think, like you mentioned before, I think youth sports, I think this kind of perspective of parenting and creating good soil at home. So no matter what the kids are in sports, they're just like, hey, we lost a point. We got a lot of soccer to play. Like, let's keep going. That crosses over into everything else, be it the first time they watched a PG-13 movie with friends or how to act in public, right? It's all about how we're parenting at home that when they're in the finals match, when they are visiting the college for the first time or eating over at a friend's house for the first time, you're not overly concerned on how they're going to act or how they're going to perform because that was never part of it, right? That was never part of the original conversation of why we do these things.
Yep, yep. And so there's a massive pro for why,
Yeah.
like, it's not even that it's the youth sports that are good because of X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
It's the practice and the exercise, proverbially, like
Hmm.
metaphorically, that you guys as a family are getting
Yes.
on top of all of that,
Yeah.
which is
And
pretty.
like you said, it could be any sport, it could be any activity that the kid is involved in, but the opportunity as a family to work through things, losses, wins, travel, all that stuff, that's what sports gives you the opportunity to do. So,
Yeah, yeah. So my next question, and here's
yeah,
another
go
worry
for
of
it.
mine as a dad new to the field there, right? You dipped your toe into the pool of like our past experiences, so we'll touch
Mhm.
base on that. But
Yeah,
first, um, I'm looking at my schedule right now, right? And let's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
practically talk about this for a sec, okay?
Yep.
Like
Okay.
practically speaking, okay?
Mhm.
So my wife works full time. She leaves at
Mhm.
7 a.m. and she gets back at 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Boom, she's on dinner, and then we're eating together, and then we're getting the kids ready for bed, and
Mhm.
then you're exhausted and the day's over, basically.
Mhm.
But, like, sprinkled in between, right, we have different things going on, right? Half of those days, she's getting home, we're eating dinner, and then boom, I'm running to work. So I
Mhm.
work some nights. And so then that crosses off the amount of nights that we have, right? So then I'm looking practically speaking, and I go, okay, I work Sunday, Monday, Wednesday night right now. So then Tuesday,
Mhm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturdays usually we do like a bigger thing, or we do like a
Mhm.
friend thing, or we do something.
Mhm.
So Saturdays kind of are their own beast and their own like planning as far as that block or those set of
Yeah, it's
blocks that we do
separate
for
from
the
the
day.
week. Yeah.
But then if you look at, okay, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, that's what we have left. So then we're
Mhm.
going, okay, well, we have like our church thing that we do on Thursday nights. So
Mhm.
that's out. So we have Tuesday and Friday, right?
Mhm.
And then you're looking, okay, so that's it. But then, Deb, she's got this book club that she does every once in a while. She gets
Mhm.
some like connection time with her friends, which is far
Got
and
it.
few between. So
Yeah.
like once a month, that's a Tuesday. Um,
Mhm.
and then usually like once a month, I'm doing some sort of hangout, right?
Mhm.
So we have Friday nights and then some Tuesdays. And then there's like the father-daughter dance coming up on Friday,
Mhm.
blah blah blah. And then so in my
I
head,
got you, Dad. I
I'm
got you.
like, and this is probably how a lot of
How?
other guys are feeling. How does the math on that?
Okay, it's
How did you
definitely dad
guys
math,
make
but
the
yeah.
space? Yeah, and like, what were either some challenges or you're good at the adaptation too. Like, how
Yes,
did that?
compromise and priorities,
You
right?
have
It
three
comes down
kids,
to
so we're talking about one
yes,
kid sport right now.
yes. But that could also expand into theater and music for my older kid, and it could be sports for the little one too. So how are we doing it? Compromise and priorities, right? So as a family, before signing up, we already knew what the schedule would be like. We knew what our schedule would be like. And so we sat down and talked about, okay, there's going to be some compromising uh, on things that are not, I'd say, outside of the top 10 as far as priorities. Let me give you an example. Deb gets back at 4:30, 4:50, 5 o'clock. We have dinner, and then that's it. How are we supposed to put a youth sports practice, which is commonly at those times, right? Like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock as they get older. And so what we do is on the days, like first off, I want to be there at practice too. I don't want to be the drop off pickup. I want to cheer her on. I want her to know that this is as important for me as it is for her. But
Yeah,
I can't do that every practice.
yeah.
And so there are some practices that Mo will go to, some practices that I go to. If we're lucky, both of us go to, and Emma, right, our oldest, will watch the girls. So there's that aspect. Secondly, is we compromise on cooking dinner. Maybe a couple nights a week when we know we have a later practice, we will order, right? Or we'll pick up. So that saves the time there. And so are there other things that, yeah, church group, book club. Maybe I want to do some other things, but in this season of life, we want to support Chloe. We want to support one. Now, is it going to be like this every month, every year? No, because maybe it slows down next year or Emma starts driving, helps out. So when you're looking at your calendar and your schedule, don't think of like, well, what's going to be like for the next 5 years? Because you don't need to, extrapolate that far, right?
Well,
You
it's
just
gonna
need
change
to
so many times. So
yeah, exactly. Right. So you just need to do it week to week, month to month. Another thing is this like, man, this week is slammed. She has teammates. They have offered many times to pick her up and take her to practice and drop her off. And so you create that kind of team, that community aspect where both parents on all the kids, there's like, we have like a group chat on our phone, like, hey, someone's sick or someone's late. Can you pick up? I have to work late. And so the team comes together and really supports each other. So it's no longer just like you and Deb only doing pickups and drop offs for the kids. It's going to be a team, right? So similar to how some parents do drop offs with school and pickups. It's like,
yeah,
hey, we live in a cul-de-sac. I've got Monday, Wednesdays. Can someone get Tuesday, Thursdays? Sports are the same way. So don't think about it as just you and Deb sacrificing. The team will come together and you guys will figure out a way because the priorities will shift for this season. And that's all it is. And now if it does continue, let's say she does love volleyball, and you know what? That's fine because we're in this rhythm. If something needs to change, then at that point, we'll bring it to the family table and be like, hey, dad wants to do a couple more of these, or you know what? Mom wants to do a couple more of these days. So then dad's going to take you a couple of times. And then Uncle Johnny, who's a parent of another child, they're going to take you on Fridays. Right. And so you make it work because you want it to work. Right. A
yeah,
lot of times we don't find compromise there or we struggle with compromise. It's when it's not your priority, right? So that's the
yeah,
thing. If it is your
yeah.
priority, you will find a way. And if you look at all the other things that you have magically fit into your life, having three kids, right? you made it work. I know prior to having 3 kids personally, you're like, there's no way. One, how are we going to double this up, triple
Uh-huh.
this up? But
Uh-huh.
notice how now it's, I wouldn't say fluid, but it's doable. It's malleable. Like you said, loose hands. So I think going into a season of sports or even a year of sports, high school, whatever, just know that there needs to be compromise and sacrifice. But the compromise doesn't have to be on the top 3 thing on your list. Like for us, it's family, right? On the weekends, we don't do much. We go to these competitions and we come home, and that's it. And the kids know that it's not competition and movie night with friends and we're doing a sleepover. Like, no, we decided to do sports this season, so that's the priority, right?
Yeah, and that's your teaching moment with your kids, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, what does that look like, even like a side thought on that is, what does it look like when you have 3 doing different things? And right, you said
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're going to their each other's practice, right? I feel like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's a valuable teaching moment, and in itself of like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we support each other as a family. We
Yes,
encourage
and
each
we
other
get
as
that all the
a family.
time. The why, like, why do I
Yeah.
have to do this? It's not mine. It's not yours. It's ours, right?
Yeah.
Just like how you go to these play dates and your siblings come along too, right? Because it's our decision to do so. And I think it teaches the kids that everyone is a priority in the family during different seasons, right? Like we can't all be doing everything all at once, and the parents will step back from some things, and you may not be able to do this theatrical performance this semester, but next semester you can. And child number 3 won't play competitive sports, and so you make that compromise.
Yeah. 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 And then you take a bite of the apple again as you get into the next season, right? Like,
Yep.
because again, I think the temptation is to just go, well, what about so and so next time, or what?
Mhm.
How do I make it fair, and how do I, and you can't. There's
But
no
I
such
think there's
thing,
a I
right?
think
Like,
there's
I
a
think,
lesson in that. Yeah, I
yeah,
think there's a
yeah,
lesson is that you don't
that is
buy
the
3
lesson.
Xboxes for all your children. You buy
Yeah,
1, right?
yeah,
Like, that was the lesson I grew up with. Like, no, we don't have multiples, we have 1 and we share. And time is one of those things we share as a family, right?
yes.
And
As
so
I love there's a book out there by a guy named Jeff Bethke who talks about family teams. So he
mhm,
talks about like the family as a team. And
mhm,
so then it kind of gets easier to think about that as like we are an entire unit. And so like
mhm.
we serve each other in these ways, and we
Yes, we
encourage each other
support
in
each
these
other.
ways.
Mhm,
We support each other. Yeah. And so it just makes life seem like a whole lot more manageable in that regard,
mhm.
and a lot more like flourishing, just in the sense of like, it's all these indirect, like you just continue to teach your kids these things that you show them, like they're
Yes,
experiencing it, and it
yes.
applies to 12 other things,
Everything.
right?
It applies to everything.
So,
Yeah.
which is again why I think a lot of people, to go all the way back full circle to like youth sports, why people say youth sports are really important, because it teaches you some of those things. But then what we're
Yeah.
finding out is it's actually 3 deep. You're learning like, as a family, this is how you support each other. As a team, this is how you support each other.
Mhm,
As as a community, this is how we
mhm,
support each other. So
mhm.
I'm liking where this is headed, right? It's
Yeah,
funny because
no.
like one of my past jobs, it was a lot of like, I've had to unlearn stuff from that job,
Oh,
because it
me
was a
too.
nonprofit, but it was like, hey, we need to get all the youth to do this thing and not the sports. And like, we need to get them all to do this thing and not this other thing. Like, and so it was like a lot of competition where I'm like, now as a parent, I'm like, well,
Mhm.
no, what works best for each
Exactly.
kid, and
Yeah.
and sports are not bad. I played sports, so
Mhm.
therefore, it was a good experience. And so I was
Yeah.
asking my parents, right? We have some police cars driving around inside of our house, if you can't hear
It's
that.
I can hear that.
Yeah. These mics are nice, but they're not completely
No, they're not. There's
directional.
different levels to mics. Yeah, these are pseudo directional. Yeah.
So,
Not when
um,
there's police cars nearby, that's for sure.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, so wait, kids, we only have like a few
Like
minutes left for
a
this
couple
episode.
minutes.
Okay? I can leave the baby in there for a little longer still.
Okay.
Yes, we can stretch this nap.
Okay.
Um, Harper, no more wee woo for a sec, okay? Okay. Um, so I called my parents right before we started, because Deb and I just had a conversation last night
Oh,
about,
nice.
hey, we're going to talk about this on the podcast, but also where are we at with this guy right here, and
Mhm, mhm.
like the what are we gonna get him into? We're
Mhm.
almost at that point, but I've been very not hesitant, but very like pridefully like, no, 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 no. There's no rush. Like just because everybody else is jumping off the bridge, we don't have to also. The
Exactly.
whole
Yep.
that thing, you know? Um, just I'm surrounded by families that are like dropping like 5 grand to do like competitive this or that. And
Imagine
I'm
if you
like,
had like all your kids
not
in competitive stuff. That's not,
it's just
yeah.
not gonna be a possibility for us. Like, I
No.
know, like, I wanna of course, like, if my kid gets to a point where they love something so much, like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna try and move heaven
Of
and earth
course.
to make it
Of
happen,
course.
but that's not where we're at right now. So I'm like, "Pump the
Exactly.
brakes, guys." Like,
Mhm.
this is just fun
Yeah.
we're talking
We're
about here.
worrying about things that don't exist yet, right?
Yes,
So,
yes. So, anyways, I could not remember. It's funny, like, I played a lot of, like, youth soccer growing up,
mhm.
and so I was like, "Hey, dad, mom, when did I play? Like, what did
Yeah.
that
When
look
did I
like?"
start? Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's funny because a lot of times they don't quite remember. It's like a haze, a fog of all
Yep.
the childhood stuff. But they had a lot of good feedback. They were like, "Yeah, I mean, like you started like I started playing soccer around like 8 or 9, It
Mhm.
wasn't like super young. Um, and I did that for quite a few years, but like I don't remember like loving it and I don't remember hating it. Like I don't have a lot of memories of it. Surprisingly, I
Yeah.
just like it was just the thing that I did cuz that's what you do. You go to soccer. So,
Yep.
okay. Um and then I played from soccer I went into jujitsu and so those I
Mhm.
have more core memories of because it was like with my dad and my closer friends. So I loved that. I think I remember
Mhm.
mostly that and that was
Mhm.
like early teen years. And then I played like one not semester, but like one
Like
season of
season.
freshman football. And I was
Mhm.
like, 2 a days? Like, no, I don't care about this that much. Like, you guys are way too serious about this. I'm just here to have
Exactly.
fun. And so then they were like,
Exactly.
no, this is not for fun. Like, this
It's
is
just not for fun.
we so
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, forget that. And then I played a little soccer in high school and I was like, yeah, this is like a lot of running. I don't think I like this. And then I did volleyball. I hopped into volleyball, but then I actually didn't play. I always the funny thing I was thinking about was like, oh, I started volleyball, but then I was like,
But I never
nah,
got to the point where I played. No, it's
yeah,
not for
yeah.
me.
No, so then I took an extra like an extra class of woodworking. So I had 2 of those. So all the weed smokers and me were like doing woodworking class.
Nice.
And so yeah, that was like the extent of and then I got into cycling like as like late high school into college, right? And
Mhm.
so like I love
Mhm.
pushing myself. Like I know the value of that. And I understand like that competition has its place too, right?
Yeah.
Like I love playing beach volleyball, just pick up volleyball,
Mhm.
right? And there were times when, it's like, come on, we need a couple more people, like somebody jump in. But then it was like somebody would be like, I guess I'll play, but I don't know. And it was like, I don't want to have to deal with this person because they like can't hit the ball. So it's like I get it's like if we are not like capable of playing the sport, well, then I don't want to play with that
Well,
person.
yeah, there should be a clear definition of what you're looking for, right?
Which goes
So,
back to your point of like we
mhm.
have different leagues for different purposes. And again, it was
Exactly.
like I like to it's easy for my nature to dog on the competitive stuff because I'm like kids should have fun. Like I mean, I was a recreation and leisure studies major in college. Like this is my jam. Like I
Yeah.
love recreation, but for
Mhm.
me, it's like the play side is the important part. Like
Yeah.
that's where the development is happening. But
Mhm.
the way that you phrase that, all of a sudden, it lowers my like
Mhm. There
nerves
are
or like,
benefits to competition too. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not
yeah, yeah,
always in the
yeah.
winning of competition.
And
So,
and it's just like what stage are we in? How far do we
mhm.
want to go? So like
Exactly.
what I should be saying, what I'm learning, what I'm saying here is I should adjust my attitude towards that and really should be like, hey, that competitive league, that's
Mhm.
great for those people. And they're
Mhm.
they're finding value in that. And obviously some people are going to go on to bigger and better things with that. I love watching professional sports
Exactly.
and they had to do it too, like so
Yep.
it's great. It's good stuff, but it's just maybe it's not for us or maybe it's not for
Exactly.
you or whoever,
Or your child or your family. Yeah. And
Yep.
so having kind of a clear awareness of that will,
Yep.
I think, take care of a lot of the anxiousness and not, I don't want to say attitude, but the frustrations with youth sports. And so I really think it's not, I think it's a wrong placement thing. I don't think it's like it's the sport or it's the competition aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. So then,
Yeah.
what about you? Like, what did that
Yeah,
look
I
like for you
no, a
sports
little
wise?
I the oldest memory I have is probably like 3rd grade or 4th grade. Started little league, was super competitive in little league, moved overseas, still played little league until I realized there's people over 5'10" in my age bracket. And I'm like, okay, I'm not hitting a ball off someone who's 5'10" and I'm in 5th grade, right?
Yeah.
So that's when baseball stopped. But then I was always involved in sports. I played soccer, I played volleyball, basketball, you name it, I played it, and I liked the aspect of skill acquisition. So I liked it because I was learning something new, and
Yeah.
once I got proficient enough at it, then I would move on to another sport. So I was never the one who'd be like, I'm going to do all 5 years of this because I'm getting incrementally better. I got to a point where I felt like my skill set could allow me to enjoy the sport anytime I wanted to play it. So let's move on to another sport. So I wasn't the guy who did like JV, varsity, and then college, all the same sports. It was a different sport almost every year. But yeah, then I in high school played racket sports, college played contact sports. So I've always been involved in sports. But as far as the perspective of the family atmosphere in Little League, there wasn't a lot of like cheering or like parents in the stands. It was very much me dictating it. Like I wanted to play competitive sports. So I'd come back and be like, hey, Dad, I need you to sign this. I'm going to start Little League. They're like, okay, I'm working, so I can't go. I'm like, that's fine. I still want to play Little League. And so I'd get my own stuff. And because it was at school, like there was not a lot of transportation like issues. And so I'd be after school program, coach would show up. All the actual league and competitions were at local parks. You just take a taxi. I was a kid living overseas. Everyone took taxis. So you just took a taxi there. So it wasn't really a lot of hands-on parenting, not like it is in the States, right? In the States, it's like parents are out to make a change happen, so to speak. So just like understanding that line of competition being internal with your child or external with family members, right? And so for me, it was internal. So the fact that my parents weren't there wasn't a big thing for me. I wasn't looking at the bleachers for confirmation. I just like playing competitive sports. I like getting better. Whereas now as a parent, like I want to be there to support, but I know where that line in the sand of too much support is, right? When you put on the coach's cap or when you counter feedback that the coaching staff have given your child because you're like, I know better. Well, then you should be a coach. You should coach the little league team. No, you don't want to
Then you
coach?
can do
Okay,
that.
yeah, then you can do that. So, you know, I wouldn't say it was easy in the beginning, but I do understand now that hey, I'm there as a support. I'm there to cheer them on. And I'm not there to coach. I'm not there to be better than or to prove to people around me that I know what I'm talking about because that's not youth sports, right? That if you want to do that, try out for the NFL, be a coach at the highest level, you know your stuff. But this should be parents should be bringing sliced oranges and Skittles for the team. Like that's our role, right?
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
mean, honestly, I would love to dive into that even more. If you just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what does that middle ground look like, right? You can go
Mm-hmm.
too far one way or the other. But what is that? What is that? I mean, you touched on it, but just like
Mm-hmm.
finding that sweet spot as a parent as far as support goes. But then it's
Yes.
interesting we both had different ways of or like going about our sports experience
Mm-hmm.
growing up. And we both had good, like we would say good experience with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, my parents were there and present, so I remember like, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, they're, like, cheering me on, which is awesome. And it was a great experience, but they weren't, like, driving it, but also I wasn't driving it, I was like, "Yeah, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, sure, I'll do that." And so I did it, I was like,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure I learned a lot of good stuff, like, I mean, already talked about the story of, like, I knew how to stand up for myself, and I was ready to take that guy out that was
Yep.
bully. That was a
Link to
school
that
thing.
episode. Link to that episode. Yep.
Bling, bling, link, link.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all good stuff, but, unfortunately, I have to wake this baby up, otherwise we're not gonna
Wake
sleep
the
tonight.
baby up. We got a part two coming to this, hopefully with a guest,
Yep.
which will be interesting because another parent with kids in sports or managing sports. So it'll be interesting to kind of go off some tangents there. And if you think of anything else that you want to ask as far as sports and parenting, I can just talk about my perspective or my experience. So
Yeah, yeah. So any dads out there who are listeners, and I know there are many active listeners
Oh, yeah.
out there, Rob, now, so I'm pretty pumped on this.
Oh,
Give us
yeah.
your feedback. If you have anything to add, send us a note. I'll catch up
Mhm.
with you and we'll get it on the podcast, you know?
Yeah.
So let's make it
Yeah, yeah, for
happen.
sure.
But until then, you know, we're just we're not professionals,
No, we're not gurus. We're just 2
two
dads
dads in
in real
real
life.
life.